You are. Hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you had something delicious for dinner on Monday night before we all threw up whatever it was we consumed, because the Dallas Cowboys threw up all over themselves. 27-17, the final score, as this team found another new but kind of the same way to humiliate themselves with all of the world watching, which is going to be the case for the next month and a half, as we've been talking about for some time, with all the primetime games, Thanksgiving, et cetera, coming up. And that's kind of the story with this team. Monday, November the 3rd, was a momentous day for the Dallas Cowboys, let me tell you, okay? Because Jerry Jones was on Stephen A. Smith's podcast or radio show, whatever technical term you want to call it, on Sirius XM. I know that this is not the important part, the technical part of it that I've already fumbled, but you get the point. Jerry was on with Stephen A. and said that the Cowboys were going to make a trade on Tuesday, but it was a secret trade. You can't tell anybody what the details are because you have to have everybody, the entire NFL content machine, talking about it. ESPN and ABC, whatever, everyone, every single person that has a microphone or a camera talking about this thing all day long. Scott Van Pelt, Jason Kelsey, just everyone doing the whole charade, the whole facade, talking about the Dallas Cowboys, because that's all that matters. That was the win. If you thought that the Cowboys were ever going to get a win that mattered more on Monday night against the Arizona Cardinals, you could not have been more mistaken, because the Cowboys already, before any toe met ball, got the most important win, in that everybody talked about them. Everybody talked about all the secret stuff around their trade and who was it going to be and the details and everything already being agreed to, but there's still stuff that has to process or pending or whatever. We have to talk about it. We have to be talking about the Dallas Cowboys. And I recognize how ironic that sounds for me in this moment, talking about the Dallas Cowboys. I hope that it's understood that, at least I really hope that it's understood that this is different than what we're talking about. And we're so deep in the inception levels of this whole thing here, but it does not matter. The football here, it is secondary. This is not a football team. This is a business. This is a write-off. This is just an activity. This might as well be a pickleball court, all right, on campus of the world-renowned multi-billion-dollar business that just prints money. It is not something that matters greatly to them, and they have a 3-5-1 record to show for their work to date, and it is so depressing. Look, the season is technically alive. I understand that from a mathematical perspective. I understand those of you who want to have hope. I am in no way critical of you for this, but I get what you're going to say, that the Cowboys were 3-5 in 2018. They traded for Amari Cooper. They actually were 3-4 when they traded for Amari. Then they lost their first game with him incidentally on Monday Night Football. They fell to 3-5. They rallied and won the division, won a playoff game. I recognize all of that. There is an example in a league that is over 100 years old to fit any kind of hypothetical. Believe me, if you don't, you can follow me on Twitter, because I have found all of them over the course of my career. RJ Ochoa is the place to do that. Follow me on any level of social media. If you're on the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel, the links to all of my socials are down in the description below. Look, again, there is technically life on the 2025 Dallas Cowboys season. None of us are saying there isn't. And I can tell you that if they pull off some wins, we will fully and totally want to believe that it is going to lead to something substantial and lead to something significant. But the season effectively ended on Monday night for the Cowboys when they fell to 3-5-1. They didn't just fall to 3-5-1. They got absolutely embarrassed. They got absolutely handled. They got dog walked by a team that entered the game with a 2-5 record. This is not getting your ass beat by the mighty Denver Broncos, who look like one of the best teams in the NFL. This is falling to the hands of a team that everyone picks on and pokes at and whatever, a team that has throughout their entire history, shout out to Babe Loffenberg, who's amazing, played 14 games on Monday Night Football and lost 10 of them, yet all 4 wins have come against the Dallas Cowboys. There are so many little brothers or small teams or non-big players, people who have seats at the kids' table because the Dallas Cowboys are on national television and primetime television way more often than them. But they own this team because they may not be super sound football organizations or franchises. And I don't mean to say anything positive or certainly negative about the Cardinals at this point in time, but they care more about actual football than the Dallas Cowboys. And the proof is ultimately in the pudding. This team, this season is effectively over. And the fact that the Cowboys season is effectively over on the Monday after Halloween, it's November 3rd, the day that this game took place, the day that we signed the DNR on the 2025 Dallas Cowboys, so to speak. I mean, look, I'm not going to speak for anyone here, but one of the most magical times of the year is the 60-day window that we kind of began, right? There's a lot of people who after Halloween, you put up your Christmas decorations, things like that. I'm not here to judge. You want to listen to the music, but that's fine. Do you, whatever makes you happy. But the best thing about this time of year, outside of the normal obvious things, obviously, all right, for family and everything, we get it. You understand my point. It is such a beautiful thing this time of year when it's cold outside, when you're drinking hot chocolate or whatever the case may be, and your football team is in the mix. It is so depressing when your football team is nowhere near the mix. Your football team is not in the same universe as the mix. In fact, what is particularly depressing about this particular football team is that they could not give two what's about the mix. They do not care about the mix because they are on Monday Night Football in this particular game. And they'll be on Monday Night Football the game after when they come out of their bye. And they'll be in America's Game of the Week the Sunday after that and draw 30 million people. And then they'll be on Thanksgiving with a special halftime performance and they'll draw 50 million people. Then they'll be on Thursday Night Football. Then they'll be on Sunday Night Football. That is the mix. That's the mix that they care about. And if you think the mix about what's happening on the football field between the 100 yards is the mix that they care about, my friend, my brother, my sister, mi hermano, mi hermana, you could not be further disconnected from the truth. This franchise has fallen so far. We revere it because of its glory days and the mighty tower that so many wonderful people, players, coaches, staffers, levels of ownership and front office built and foresaw, took advantage, cared, and ultimately established what was, for a long time, the gold standard in the NFL. This is the gold standard of reality television. It's Survivor, Amazing Race, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, MTV's The Challenge, I'm Still Holding On, and the Dallas Cowboys. That is life for all of us, I'm afraid. Let's take a look at your comments. Those of you on Bleacher Report, S Green 3631 says, as long as Jerry Jones. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Marco says defense is horrible and Dak has to go. Look, here's the thing. I am not going to really go far defending Dak Prescott on Monday night. Dak Prescott was certainly not his best self on Monday night. I would offer that he was under duress for an enormous amount of the game, but I would offer that Dak Prescott has kind of earned the right to have a bad game. That's not justifying the bad game, but if you are going to be someone, look, we've had it. All right. So if you're going to come in here with this fight that we have already fought 10,000 times and say that Dak Prescott is the problem, I don't even have time to entertain this. I don't even have the energy to entertain this because we're dealing with this massive elephant that is the front office not caring and beyond that actively sabotaging the state and the franchise from an overall perspective. So if you're going to be the person who says that Dak Prescott has to go because of what happened on Monday night, if you're going to be the person who says Dak Prescott has to go, you better be saying it from the perspective of letting him go and go win a Super Bowl, go play for a team that cares. That is the only type of Dak Prescott has to go that is tolerable around these parts. Because again, Dak Prescott was not at his best on Monday night. I don't think there's a single person who's going to disagree with that at this point in time. He was poor. The offensive line, again, did not help situations. You had some drops and whatnot, but he has to play better. We're all going to agree with you from that perspective. But if you're watching the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, in the calendar year of 2025, and you think he's the problem, I would invite you to just, hit refresh on your browser. I would invite you to go touch grass. I would invite you to do something, anything to get any kind of connection or tether to reality, because right now you do not have a single one. Let's head on over to YouTube and check out your comments there. Karam says, this isn't a good football team. I agree with you. Hi, Thunglo. Hope I'm getting that correct. Says, keep pressing this narrative. It's the truth. Jerry Jones in the box with Stephen A. Smith speaks volumes. Look, I'm bothered, and I'm not bothered at you, my friend, for bringing up Stephen A. I am very bothered that we have to have any level of input on Jerry sitting with Stephen A. in the box. I genuinely could not care less about it, but it is absurd. Look, I'm not a wrestling fan. That's not a knock. It's just not my thing, right? Those of you who are, enjoy it. Fly your flag. I'm super cool with it. Super cool with it being your thing. Not a wrestling person, but that being said, Jerry, Stephen A. in the booth together, the Cowboys scoring a touchdown or whatever immediately after Stephen A. leaving. It's very fake, very WWE. It's so hollow. I could not care less. I genuinely could not. It is so lame and sad the narrative or highlight, that thing that's going to be leading ESPN.com, no pun intended, because of the network this game was on and the network that Stephen A works for. But that one of the main things is Jerry's sitting in the box with Stephen A. Smith. Meanwhile, you got the Eagles trading for Jalen Phillips on Monday and trying super hard to win football games. Again, this is so frustrating, and I feel so much for so many players and so many coaches and so many staffers and so many people who are just stuck, including all of us from a fan perspective. We are stuck here. We are married into this, and there's no getting off this ride, right? Like, we're all stuck here eternally because we don't want to leave. We shouldn't leave. If you want to leave, that's not a judgment. You can totally, absolutely leave if you want to. But I mean, it's just this never-ending cycle of funk. Nobody enjoys it in any single way. On YouTube, AC Phyllis says Dak in a way is the problem. He's too good of a quarterback to allow the Cowboys to tangle the terrible roster. Okay, I will tolerate that particular argument here. Jerry Jones, this is a tweet from Nicole Hutchinson of DallasCowboys.com. Jerry Jones just told the media that there is no trade right now, but there is one trade that he can do, and he's leaning towards doing it. Do you understand how much we do not care about the pomp and circumstance? Look, I will be completely honest with you all. There was a time where the Dallas Cowboys of it all was cool. There was a time where I defended the Dallas Cowboys of it all. I think that you probably agree with me, and this has been your experience, but I won't assume that's the case. I won't speak for anybody but myself. But there was a point in time where it was cool. And then there was a time where it was maybe not cool, but it was at least still entertaining, right? It was at least still kind of funny, and it was at least still kind of interesting and whatever. It's not funny. It's not interesting. It's the same old thing. Look, I used to love Grey's Anatomy. That's a real thing. But at a certain point, it's just a matter of like how many tragedies can keep happening to the same hospital and group of people who work there. How many times can the cars be both fast and furious, right? Like, we've seen this thing before, right? Oh, Jerry said something crazy. Jerry said the Cowboys are going to make a trade. Jerry said the Cowboys are going to go all in. It's not even creative at this point in time. Forget the fact that it is toxic and chaotic and stirring the pot and unnecessary and unconventional and goes completely and totally against the way that actual professionals handle the job. It's not even entertaining. I mean, again, tell me if you know somebody, but I don't think you do. I don't think any of us know anybody that's like, this guy's so silly. Nobody who has a vested interest in the Cowboys, at least. I know, obviously, that there are fans of other teams that eat it up, that think it's hilarious, that are like, oh, this is awesome. This is great. Yeah, Cowboys are going to suck forever. But if you're a Cowboys fan, if you have any level of interest in them, I genuinely don't believe there's a single one of you who are saying, oh, man, Jerry is I love this show. This is a great circus. This is the greatest showman. I can't wait. Give me my snack. Give me my popcorn. No, nobody thinks that way, because if you're going to be this way, if you're going to be this toxic, then you know what? At least be entertaining about it. I was going to say Game of Thrones. That would be horrible. Be Succession about it all. But right now, you're not even that. Right now, you're just the same song and dance, the same tropes, the same moves, the same whatever. We know the quarters behind our ears. You're going to pull the flowers out of your hand. Oh, the thing in your coat jacket, we're never going to see it coming. I promise you. The ventriloquist, how's it talk? I have no idea. We've seen the parlor tricks over and over and over again. At the very least, get some new material. On YouTube, High Heel Boy says, gee, what is the common factor? Could it be the owner? Jeff says, Cowboys are playing like a bad rerun, like I'm seeing the same bad movie over and over again. I agree with you. Counting Buck says, bashing on the Jones family is being a Cowboys fan. Wanting better for all of us is being a Cowboys fan. I agree with all of that. I don't endorse bashing. I don't like that. I believe in being objective, and I believe that that's what I'm doing, and I hope that that's coming across. On Bleacher Report, Tony says, disgusting performance, national embarrassment. I'm done. P-Town Hustle on Bleacher Report says, shoddy disrespect to the Arizona defense by not kicking the field goal on the first drive. Chase points the whole game. Arizona's red zone defense was elite tonight. Okay, as far as the actual game is concerned, I have zero issue with Brian Schottenheimer going for it on the first possession of the game. I love it. And beyond the fact that I love it, independent of who you are as an offense, I love it even more so because, have you seen the Dallas Cowboys defense? I love that Brian Schottenheimer said, dude, I mean, we're going to need touchdowns. There's just no way. It didn't work out. And at the moment in time that it happened, I even tweeted, I said, man, this feels a lot like Denver. Obviously, after the Bo Nix interception, when the Cowboys couldn't capitalize in that particular moment, they kicked the field goal. Obviously, in this particular moment, they went for it on fourth down and failed. I have zero issues with this. The best players on this team, the best side of the ball are on offense, right? The offense is what carries this team. I would a million out of a million times rather trust the offense. And it's unfortunate that the Cowboys still, as a defense, couldn't stop Arizona. They ultimately, didn't surrender a touchdown at that point in time, still did surrender points, and there was penalties and should have been a penalty on Arizona, the Dante Fowler situation, all that stuff. But I have zero issue with Brian Schottenheimer going for it. I would have done the exact same thing if I were in his shoes. I endorse it. He has my highest seal of approval relative to that particular moment in time. So I'm good with Brian Schottenheimer in that moment, and I hope he behaves the exact same way and doesn't get spooked moving forward. On YouTube, let's see here. In the Flat says, it feels like a personalized hell being a Cowboys fan. Meanwhile, the Eagles have unlimited draft picks, unlimited good players, unlimited trades to tweak the roster, and unlimited wins. Unbelievable. Here's the thing. I think that I speak for a lot of you. And again, don't like to do that, but I'm going to go ahead and put it this way. If you're a Cowboys fan around the age of, I don't know, let's say 45, you're 45 or younger, if you're in that kind of demographic, right, you've gotten the short end of things, right? If you are a Cowboys fan around 45 or younger, your whole life has essentially been the worst part of being a Dallas Cowboys fan, because your whole life, the team has been incredibly famous and incredibly visible and the most valuable and the most, all the things that don't matter. And so you have friends or cousins or whoever's in your life, coworkers, that anytime something like this happens, they hit you up and they say, look at you and how stupid you are, right? All you have are the consequences of the greatness. All we have are the consequences. Cowboys fans of an older generation, that's not to call people old or anything like that. I'm completely sensitive to the fact that we're all different ages. Age is nothing but a number. But if you're older, I imagine that when you get these jokes, when you get these memes, when you see these silly things on Facebook sent to you or whatever the case may be, you say, you know what, it's annoying, but I remember those times and they were awesome. And so it's kind of worth it. I wish things were different, but I remember the taste and it was pretty nice. But if you're 45-ish or younger, you don't remember the taste. All you have is the repercussions for how great the franchise was in the 90s. You don't have any of the good. You have only the cons to being an NFL dynasty. The kids right now who are Chiefs fans, the kids who are like 8 years old and, kind of approximately, when they grow up, if their football team is as dumb as ours, they're going to fall into the same boat. They're going to be like, dude, this sucks. Like, yeah, that was really cool when we won all those Super Bowls and Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce and all that jazz. But now this is horrible. And all my friends are making fun of me with holograms and whatever. So it is very, very, very unfortunate to be a Cowboys fan of that particular age group, because you only have the bad and pretty much none of the good. Let's see here. Andy says, I like to dwell in the past. AC Phyllis says, I just realized the last time the Cowboys won a Super Bowl, Ross and Rachel weren't on a break. That's for RJ. That's true, because Ross and Rachel, entered their break in season 3, which was the fall of 1996. So they were reigning Super Bowl champions, but you're right. The point still stands. BB4IRND says on Bleach Report, trade Pickens. We can get more picks there. Look, I'm making sure I don't miss something with Jerry Jones. Okay, we're all good. I have zero issue trading George Pickens, like in a practical sense, right? Like let me be very clear here. I do not want the Dallas Cowboys to trade George Pickens. I'm going to say it again. I do not want the Dallas Cowboys to trade George Pickens. George Pickens makes the Dallas Cowboys a better football team. I will be very honest with you, and I keep saying this because I believe in transparency. I was against the George Pickens trade. I did not think the Cowboys would be able to handle the reputation that he had coming out of Pittsburgh. I was wrong. I've eaten my crow. I've got some in the freezer to come out whenever I make future mistakes, because those things will happen. So I was against the trade. Even though I was against the trade, the moment it happened, I said, I wrote, I made content about it. I said, okay, you've done this now. Get the extension done. It's stupid. It's silly. It's inefficient to wait. So I do not want the Cowboys to move on from George Pickens from I like to watch the Dallas Cowboys have success on the football field perspective, but from the perspective of what's the best thing to do right now? What's the most forward-thinking thing to do right now? You have to entertain trading him, because your season's going nowhere. You're 3-5-1. He's in a contract year. He is represented by an agency that you don't exactly have a great past with. We don't have to relitigate that whole situation, but you know what I mean, Micah Parsons and all that jazz, right? So all those things, all those factors, all that information, it completely and totally matters relative to George Pickens in this situation. And so ultimately, you have to have a plan. That's my biggest gripe. My biggest gripe with this team since they got humiliated by the Green Bay Packers in the 2023 wildcard round is they have not operated, and I use this phrase all the time, and I stand by it, they have not operated with a singular North Star. If you move in one direction and I don't agree that that's the place you should go, fine, we can disagree. But at least all of your energy is concentrated in that one direction. But the Cowboys aren't doing that. They're trading for George Pickens in a contract trade. They're trading away Micah Parsons. They're super pumped to get Kenny Clark, but they're thinking about making him a cap casualty in the offseason, right? Like, none of these things are moving in one singular direction for us to agree or disagree with. So you have to come to terms, no pun intended, with George Pickens one way or another. You either trade him on Tuesday before the deadline, or you get the extension done either on Tuesday, the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning and you lick your wounds, or the first thing when this offseason strikes. Because if you plan on playing your traditional, your trademark stupid games in the offseason with George Pickens, then you should trade him. Because if you're going to go about this in the same exact, inefficient manner that you did with Micah Parsons that costed you him and Dak Prescott multiple times over and CeeDee Lamb, then you really are just ultimately getting the least amount out of this that you possibly can. And we're tired of seeing you do that over and over and over again on YouTube. Let's see here. Shorty M1, hope I'm getting that right, says, listen, he is talking good sense. You probably can get at least second day and third pick is 3-5, give back like a sixth. I agree if you're talking about George Pickens. Jeff says, the funny thing is we may have ended Kyler's career tonight. Yeah, Kyler Murray had all that success against the Cowboys, probably never going to play anymore because Jacoby Brissett just took his job. DGL on Bleacher Report says, another embarrassing loss. Thanks, Jerry. P-Town Hustle says, no corners. Bland has been bad. Diggs is not a good look. When do we find out the truth? I'm very certain that we're going to get some like 6,000 word article from like GQ or Esquire or something in the offseason that details Trayvon Diggs is falling out with the Cowboys, but that's a discussion for another day. I feel terribly for DaRon Bland. I feel very, very, very badly for DaRon Bland because he's going to get obviously held to the standard of his contract extension, which the Cowboys only did to save face after trading away Micah Parsons like 24 or 48 hours before, whatever it was. I already forget because this team's put us through such a ringer. And look, he's not playing well. DaRon Bland got destroyed by Marvin Harrison Jr. on Monday Night Football. I'm not going to deny that. I don't think anybody with a brain could deny that right now. But again, we can focus on multiple things at once. We can focus on saying DaRon Bland got cooked by Marvin Harrison Jr., and that was a tough scene, and that's a discussion moving forward. The Cowboys have to figure out an option. Was it a mistake to pay DaRon Bland? I don't know that I would go that far. I think DaRon Bland is a serviceable player, and I think the fact that the Cowboys had cap space warranted using it. But an important thing about this whole phenomenon is the Cowboys do not let them lie to you. Do not take the cheese. They could have paid Micah Parsons and DaRon Bland and Tyler Smith and Sam Williams if they wanted to when they were talking about that extension and all that nonsense, and Brandon Aubrey and George Pickens immediately after trading for him. They could have done all of these things without destroying their salary cap or without doing anything consequential or whatever if they were just forward thinking. If they had taken care of Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb in the 2023 offseason instead of playing stupid games, if they had taken care of Micah Parsons in the 2024 offseason, if when the 2025 offseason first began, way back in March, whatever it was now, 8 months ago, right? The Cowboys at that moment in time were first able to negotiate extensions with DaRon Bland and Tyler Smith and Jake Ferguson. They could have done all of that then, but they didn't. They just procrastinated, put it off, let all the grains of sand drip down the hourglass and said, oh, we didn't pay Micah. Let's just pay somebody. And we're going to blame DaRon Bland for playing poorly, but do not let him wear the full target for this whole thing. This did not have to be the way that it is. It's the same way people love to say things like Dak Prescott makes $60 million, so you have to blame him, et cetera, et cetera. That's fair in a vacuum, but it's also disingenuous because it did not have to be $60 million. Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones love to tell us about how Dak Prescott is the highest paid player in the NFL and love to throw him under the bus with that remark. He did not have to be the current highest paid player in the NFL. He only is because of the process that they masterfully engineered. So do not take the cheese on YouTube. Shody says he is correct. I live in the Philly area. The GM does it all the time. The man has made 4 moves as of now. Shane says Jerry was too busy making oil deals, didn't have time to do Micah's deal. That's true. Let's see here. Brian Schottenheimer says they wanted to see what Nate Thomas could do, and that's why he replaced Terrence Steele in the second half. Look, this is really bad. I appreciate you, Bree Guy 75 says I've never seen RJ this fired up. I appreciate that because that suggests you've been here a while. I am fired up. Look, I'm so fortunate that this is what I get to do for a living. I am inordinately blessed. God has smiled so much upon me and my family, and I do not work a single day. I'm very bothered by this team, and I'm very bothered because I want to watch them succeed. And look, I can square, we can all square the fact that the Cowboys do not win the Super Bowl at the end of a season, right? It's a very difficult thing to do. I don't think that you're a loser just because you didn't win the Super Bowl or your NBA team didn't win the title, you didn't win the Stanley Cup. I don't think the Toronto Blue Jays are losers because they didn't win the World Series, right? It's a very, very, very impossible thing to do. Only one team gets to do it each and every single year. We can square that you do not win the Super Bowl. We can even square that you have not won the Super Bowl in what will officially be 30 years a few months from now, because we are obviously headed in that direction. What is difficult to square, what is actually impossible to square, what is a round peg or whatever it is in this square orifice here is the way you're going about this. We cannot square that you're not winning the Super Bowl because you're not trying. We cannot square because you are not doing everything you can. That line about how he would write the check and all this, whatever. No, we can accept when you fail. We can accept when you lose. We can accept that sometimes teams are better. Hell, we can accept that sometimes you have a bad day, right? Sometimes you run into the 49ers 2 years in a row and it just isn't your day. We can accept that, even one time you ran into the Packers and they just completely and totally destroyed you as the youngest team in the NFL, despite the fact that you were at home and undefeated there and all this stuff. We can accept when you lose. What we cannot accept is indifference, is feigned ignorance, is malpractice. We cannot, nay, we will not accept. There is too much access to information on the internet these days for any of you to be out here blaming anybody but the people who are not just stirring the pot, but who are cackling while doing so, right? They're sitting there going, yeah, they're telling you to dance, and you're the mannequin on the strings, and you're like the NSYNC Bye 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 music video just busting up all the moves, and they're printing money in the whole process, and they're negotiating oil deals, and they're on Stephen A. Smith's Sirius XM show. They do not care as much as you do. That's a very difficult thing to reckon with. It is very, very, very frustrating to meet that reality. And I'm sorry to be the person to tell you that Santa Claus is not real in that capacity, but it's the truth. And if you don't believe me, hello, gestures around wildly. Look at all of the proof and evidence and results from not the past 30 years, but the last 1,000 days. This is not a team that has tried really more than the bare minimum. Sure, there have been some days where they're like, you know what, we'll do this. I mean, we could put some pants on today, right? But for the most part, this is a team that could not care to do anything else than profit. And that is a very, very hard truth to square. On YouTube, let's see here. David says, let's trade Stephen Jones to the Eagles front office. I don't think we could. It's unfortunate. Let's see here. More stuff about Jerry's quote, or about Jerry trading, blah, blah. Bree Guy 75 says, maybe we should stop caring too. This is to that point. Look, I understand the people who say things like, you need to stop buying tickets, you need to stop buying jerseys, you need to stop watching, you need to stop whatever. You don't need to stop doing anything, right? Like, be a fan however you want. There's no right or wrong way to do that. It is super upsetting that your energy and your interest is not matched, right? We all understand that. But I mean, beyond the practical measure of this in terms of how much does one difference of one ticket or whatever, one jersey make, I'm not here to get into those weeds, but be a fan the way you want to be a fan. You should not have to hinder or diminish the way you enjoy football for anything, let alone for the billionaires involved to take it seriously, right? I understand the point, and I'm not poo-pooing the point. I'm not saying the point is incorrect. What I'm saying is you should be able to do whatever you want. It is tragic that what you want is not equally cared about or doesn't have reciprocation involved from the most important people relative to the franchise. But maybe someday that reciprocation will be there. And I recognize that that's nothing but the longest stretch of hope possible, but it's kind of all we got. On YouTube, Cesar says, every one of us is an idiot to support this franchise. Jeff says, I just want to beat the Eagles. See, and this is not against you, Jeff, that is the Eagles, right? The Eagles were lost for forever, and their whole lives were built upon, I just want to beat the Cowboys. They call it Dallas week, right? I will never reach that point. And if you're there, Jeff, I don't say that to disparage you. That's not my intention with this point. But the Eagles are annoying, and it's frustrating that they are the NFL's gold standard from a roster construction standpoint right now. I will not care more about them than anything else, really, because, they're still little brother in a lot of ways. Let's see here. J-Dog, says, at this point, I don't blame the players. I blame Eberflus. I don't know. I don't know who to blame. I mean, like we're really at that point. I really don't know who to blame specifically. There are so many things wrong with the Dallas Cowboys. And now we've reached a point where the offense also failed, right? Monday night was clearly an offensive failure. It was an overall cataclysmic failure from everybody who wore the uniform, who wore the logo on the sidelines. And so we no longer can just sit here and primarily blame one person. And I recognize that a lot of people will say, well, that's why I blame the owner. And you're not wrong. But this was also a failure from Matt Eberflus and from Clayton Adams and from Dak Prescott and from Brian Schottenheimer and from Javonte Williams and from George Pickens and from CeeDee Lamb and Kevontae Turpin and Jake Ferguson, right? Like we could go on and on and on and on and on and on. And you can totally, subscribe me to the fact that they are exhausted because it has to be exhausting. Look, it's exhausting for us to be fans of the team and to put up with the circus that they are. It has to be just an incredibly, exhausting is not even a strong enough word. It's just an act of endurance to play for this team, to be the weekly circus, to go out and say, okay, here we go. Everyone line up. We're going to go out and you're going to jump through the ring of fire and you're going to swing on the trapeze, right? Like it's just got to be the most exhausting thing. It dawned on me during Monday night's debacle against Arizona. You know who the Cowboys are, who the players are, who the coaches are, who all of us are? We are Michael Jordan in Space Jam, the Michael Jordan, the cartoon version that the Monstars wanted to kidnap. When they draw the little sketch of what life is going to be like on their home planet, and they're like, oh, we'll chain you up and you'll never win a game. And everyone will just get to dunk on you and beat you and laugh at you. And you just have to sit there and lose and lose and lose and lose. The Dallas Cowboys are the Monstars' ideal version, their intended version of Michael Jordan. That's it. Chained, shackled, stuck forever. Ultimately, so that each and every single person who wants to be a paying customer at their demise can stand there, laugh and point, feel tall, dunk, do whatever they want because the Cowboys ain't going anywhere. They'll be back today, tomorrow, the next day in prime time on Sunday Night Football, on Thursday Night Football, on Thanksgiving. They'll be there each and every single opportunity that you want to make fun of them, and they will always open the opportunity to you at the appropriate cost so that they can profit. They are the Monstars, and we are all Michael Jordan. It sucks. Just wow. I mean, it's a really, really, really difficult thing to reckon with. And I know it's not breaking news. Look, I know that the Cowboys season was effectively over well before Monday night. But this was the first time all season the Cowboys lost multiple games in a row, and it just kind of feels like the wheels are falling off. It just kind of seems like they just can't anymore. I mean, this was a chance to get a win, to get to 500 in fashion, 4-4-1 at the bye, establish some good vibes, calm everything down for a little bit, come out of it, play a bad team in the Raiders on Monday Night Football and get north of 500, right? And have your chance to make a run. And it will be hard, obviously, against the Eagles and the Chiefs and the Lions and the Vikings and the Chargers and all these teams and all that stuff. But if you couldn't do this, right? Like, I recognize that it was over well before Monday night, well before Jacoby Brissett and Marvin Harrison Jr. and all this stuff, right? It was way effectively over before then. But if you couldn't even do that, I mean, dude, it just feels like they are done. I mean, and how could you not be? They have been carrying around this weight and this burden and just this, existential thing that is who they are every moment of every day. They can't open, I would imagine, anything on their phone without being inundated about the latest meme and the latest whatever, and the latest first take headline. It's just got to be too much at a certain point for a core or a team or a body of people. And I think we're kind of seeing the toll that's taken on this group, and it's really sad to watch. Let's see here. Tim Lopez says, don't worry, help is on the way. Let's see here. Jerry Jones talking about trading at the deadline. It's a tweet from Joe Hoyd of the Dallas Morning News, good friend. Jerry Jones talking about trading. You won't be disappointed that I didn't get carried away or didn't get illogical and do something that was all betting on us winning the Super Bowl. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Look, if we all reserve the right, if the Cowboys trade for Max Crosby, to feel like the future is salvageable. You trade for Max Crosby, it's obviously not doing much this season, right? There's nothing, and everyone has offered that opinion, obviously, but there's nothing you can do on Tuesday before 4 p.m. Eastern that is going to fix this. There is something you can do to help make 2026 and beyond suck a little bit less. You want to trade for Max Crosby? Okay, we can talk. But trading for Trey Hendrickson, trading for, whoever you want, I mean, Logan Wilson, whatever, like these things aren't going to just, fix everything. That happened one time when you traded for Amari Cooper. But guess what? Kind of like this, that Amari situation 7 years ago, that was the direct result of a problem that you created. So maybe, I don't know, stop making the problems. Stop creating these issues for yourself for you to jump in and play hero about and overpay in the process. I mean, it's just an insane cycle that we keep watching over and over and over again. Shane says, I can't wait for the next Mingo trade tomorrow. We all know that it's coming. I don't think that there's any doubt in any of our minds that it is coming. D-Day 2 says, this season is over. Why do any trades now? Wait until the offseason and see where you're at. And that's, again, the Cowboys have to do one of two things here. They either have to make a trade that has a heavier focus on 2026 and beyond, or they have to do nothing, because they do not ever do nothing. You have to, at some point in time, just sit there and shut up and take your medicine. Just sit there and don't do a single thing. Just let it all ride out. Let everything dissipate. Let all the dust clear. And then when we tell you to, you can stand up and go play. But right now, you need to be chill, or you need to invest in the future. But if you are just antsy and you got to do something right now because you want to feel alive or whatever, you need to be relevant, you need to be the next headline, that would be dumb. And you've already done the dumb thing, not just once with Jonathan Mingo, but twice with Trey Lance, not even the year before. So you don't need to do anything reckless. You don't need to do anything silly. You just need to sit there and do something with regards to the future, or shut up and be cool. That's really what it comes down to at this particular moment in time. Wow. Monday night was depressing. It was frustrating. Soap opera 365 is what Tim Lopez says. Yeah, I mean, look, I hate that quote. I think we all look, the line about the Cowboys being a soap opera every day, whatever, how Jerry will stir things up. I don't even have the energy to get riled up about it anymore. It's obviously silly, and it's obviously unnecessary, and it's obviously sad. But I mean, I'm actually more sad for the people who take the soap opera things seriously, right? Like the people who still to this day will say things like, oh, Jerry will pay for any free agent, right? Like, are we watching the same thing? Like, are you, I know you hear the noise. I know you're taking the cheese, but are you, like, they don't actually do that, right? Like the soap opera thing would be cool if the soap opera material was interesting, right? Like, if you actually were trading for superstars, if you actually were taking big swings in free agency. But like, I'm not a soap opera person. I'm not a like Days of Our Lives person, or like, what is it, Chicago Hope or whatever. General Hospital, is that what I'm thinking of? But like, your like big twist is, I'm going to trade for Jonathan Mingo. I'm going to trade for Trey Lance. Oh, watch out, we're gonna bring Zeke back, right? Like this is the soap opera. like this isn't good television. This is just television. That's really all this is. So I guess I understand why you're on at 2 p.m. every day and not, prime time in that respect. So it's not even a soap opera worthy of my attention, is ultimately kind of how I feel about the soap opera-ness at this point in time. No, so I can look, we can all accept that this is not a franchise or an organization that prioritizes winning, but if you're going to be soap opera-y, at least be entertaining. All right, that's my challenge to you, Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones. If you insist on being toxic and chaotic, at least do it in a way that's entertaining, because right now the scripts you're putting out, they're kind of boring. They're kind of dull. This is pretty lame. Like, you've lost your touch. So if you want to be this way, it's a direct challenge. Let's see you do something. Let's see an evil twin, right? Let's see, oh no, they had two, secret dogs or whatever. No, we want to see an interesting plot twist, an interesting narrative develop, not the same old cookie cutter. Oh, she's in love with him, but he's in love with her. And what are they going to do? How are they going to figure it out? Be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. and we'll show you. No, do something interesting at the very least, because you're not even good at the thing that you think you're masterful at. I love this. Tim Lopez says it's a Tubi soap opera. That's really funny. That's really, really, yeah. This is like a soap opera that exists on a TV show, right? Like when you're watching a show and the characters in the show are watching a soap opera, and so it's like particularly cheesy. That's what the level of soap opera that this ultimately is. Shout out to Patrick Walker, DallasCowboys.com, said that we all obviously saw Dak with the seemingly injury situation. Dak said he had his ankle rolled up on, and he'll be fine, especially with the bye week coming up, obviously. So, yeah, wow. I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope you all have something cool going on. I hope you all eat delicious food. I tweeted this before the show, before the game started. I'm going to confess it to all of you. I never watched season 4 of Stranger Things, but I think I'm going to start on it this week. So I hope you all have something like that going on to entertain you. A legitimately good soap opera is ultimately what we're talking about here. But other than that, I'll be back tomorrow talking more about this game and this dumb team that we all like for whatever reason. Dare I say love. But yeah, that's about it. So thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out. I love you all. Like, I know we're really mad at the Cowboys. I said it a moment ago. It really is the greatest joy and privilege for me to be able to hang out with all of you, win or dramatically lose, and to be able to do this. I say this a lot, but I think back to the high school version of myself that just had this incredible passion for the Cowboys and didn't have this outlet because it didn't quite exist. And so I'm just very glad that this place exists and that you all exist and that we all get to do this together. And I hope for all of our sakes that there are better times ahead. But thanks everybody for hanging out, and go Cowboys, because yeah, y'all have a good night and we'll see you next time.